Okay, so today I'm about to get really personal. You see, I decided when asked to give this talk that I wanted to share my life's philosophy by taking as much emphasis off myself as possible. The problem with this is that my philosophy has been so universally done, I realized the only way I could possibly convey its message is through my own personal experiences. So while this is only a very small part of my story, after today, you will all know more about myself than I have possibly ever shared before. You might also know how to use a PowerPoint. You might also learn how to turn on an on switch. Okay, so. 냄새가 길이. Okay. All right, so to start, how many people here are happy? If you're happy, you know it, raise your hands. Okay. So how many people here tend to let their happiness be affected by outside circumstances? Things that happen every day, little things from maybe failing a test, being late for work, to bigger things like breaking up with an ex. If your feelings of happiness tend to decline in hard times, please raise your hands again. Okay? So it looks like a few of you need to find your light. Your light. It's a feeling inside you. It guides you. It reassures you. It brings you to happiness with no breaks in between. It's a feeling that you're on the right path, that you're with the right person, and that you're doing the right thing. It is only when we deny our light or try to reason our way out of seeing it that we get ourselves into trouble. Okay, so to start, a little bit about myself. I had a relatively normal childhood up until around the time I was 8 years old. At that time, I was diagnosed as having obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, OCD is a disorder that can only be explained as living as a prisoner within your own mind. I mean, I would have to do things over and over and over again until I became so frustrated I just gave up. The little normal kid things like turning on a Game Boy or writing a book report became such insurmountable tasks, I just gave up. That mixed with extreme hand washing, social anxiety, and shower rituals, I wasn't really talking to anyone else about my problems either. About a year after that, my parents went through a horrific divorce, and I started to be bullied extensively. I was being bullied over a situation I couldn't control. So because the only thing I didn't have control over was food, I began to eat and eat and eat. I mean, my mom would go grocery shopping one night, only come home the next day, and find half the food missing, which is still a mystery to me because I have no idea how to cook. So, after that, I started to gain weight. After that, I was diagnosed as having Asperger's. I was diagnosed as having Asperger's, a form of autism. See, at that age, the line between Asperger's and OCD is so thin that the two often get misdiagnosed. I went for the first 18 years of my life with the world telling me that I had a mental disability. As you can imagine, this took a hefty chunk out of my self-esteem. I was angry. I had a broken home life, I had OCD, I was bullied, I had no friends, I was fat, and I spent every day eating lunch alone in the bathroom. Now, I was diagnosed as having anger management issues. Looking back on it now, I think I had every right to be angry. My only escape was through my interest in Japan, which was inspired by a local Japanese flower shop. Well, that and Pokemon, but this all also just kind of reinforced this image that I was weird. And to top everything else off, I am gay. But because of everything going on, this is the only thing that ever seemed relatively normal to me. So, around that time, I was pretty close to my rock bottom. My only friends were behavioral workers who were paid to come to my house and essentially babysit me. And over time, I became exceptionally close to one of the workers who seemed to look at me as something like her younger brother. Tragically enough, her younger brother had taken his own life a year earlier. She shared with me that if she could have told him one thing, it would have been to have seen the light at the end of the tunnel. That no matter how bad life gets, it is always better with time. So I thought about it. What was my light? What was waiting for me? Then I closed my eyes and envisioned a day when this would all be behind me, in the feeling of a bright, warm, blue light. From that moment on, I decided to trust my light. But things still weren't easy. Around junior year of high school, my school was having a junior variety show with my class, and I volunteered to rewrite some of the scripts. Some kids thought I was actually pretty funny. I mean, I went from being bullied every day to just hearing the occasional fat jokes. I even started to make a really solid group of friends. But while my social life was looking up, I nearly failed out of high school. You see, life had left me listless, not wanting to try anymore in a world that had betrayed me time and time again. No, life had left me 162 kilos. That's 300 pounds in listless, with shoulder-length hair. I mean, anyone would get up looking like that in high school. So, after that, I was also lost. While all my friends accepted colleges were posted on my school's bulletin board, mine remained missing. A daily reminder of my failures as a student, a person, and as a son. So in an effort to do something about that, I decided to enroll in community college. And in an effort to be more normal, I decided to give up my dream of Japanese and I was going to study something more common. I declared that I was going to go to school for journalism. Then came the turning point in a math test. You see, math has never been my strongest subject, so I'm sure you can all empathize when I stayed up all night studying for a failed test on the night of June 17th of 2008. The next morning on my way to class, I was hit in my driver's side door by an 18-wheeler. It was the worst day in the life for many of those around me. Some of my more severe injuries included a collapsed lung, hemorrhaging of the brain, and a broken lower vertebrae. But for me, I was in a 2.5-week medically induced coma and on some of the best drugs. I will hopefully never have the chance to try it again. I mean, the dreams I was seeing went from vivid to funny to just plain weird. I was hanging out with Ellen DeGeneres, my best friend from high school, and Ellen, if you're watching this, you called me. I thought we were best friends. I was fighting the angels in my Evangelion. I gave birth to twins. But above all else, I dreamed that I went to Japan and studied Japanese. Okay, more specifically, I dreamed that I was being inspired to follow Japanese by Phil, that little goat thing from Disney's Hercules. But listen, I said it was a really weird time. So, when I miraculously recovered, ironically thanks to my extra weight, I was still debating if this meant I was supposed to follow Japanese or not. At that same time, Utada Hikaru had a listening party for her new American album in New York City. Now what happened next can only be attributed to my light. Out of hundreds of people who received a ticket, and out of 1,000, maybe 2,000 people who showed up to Fifth Avenue that day, Utada handpicked my number to go on stage and meet her. Now, this didn't occur to me until after writing my speech, but Hikaru means light. My light literally guided me. And a year later, when I was debating if I really wanted to go to Japan, I met her a second time in New York City. You see, when you trust your light, it will take on literal forms to guide you. So I started my journey. I got a taste of international living at Temple University in Tokyo, but the environment wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so I decided to transfer to Temple University in Philadelphia, where they didn't even have a Japanese major. This time, due to the confusion, I started to get a little bit lost, but because of my light, I could feel it. So, that, with my dad's Zack, "What the hell are you doing?" talk, inspired me to transfer to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study Japanese. At UMass, I could feel myself on the right path, and I could feel my light. And because of that, my OCD, once forcing me to take 5 to 8 showers a day, just disappeared. A disorder that had haunted me for the first half of my young life just went away. I was happy. I started to feel my light. I got embraced by my light, and because of that, I found confidence. Once having no friends, I now have to love more people than I know what to do with. Friends and chosen family that inspire me every single day. Through continued diet and exercise over the course of a few years, I managed to lose 64 kilos. That's 140 pounds. Always a work in progress. I learned to close my eyes and focus on my health waiting for me on the other side. At UMass, I dove into my Japanese studies, clawing by tooth and nail for the scholarships and the grades that would eventually guide me here, to ICU, where I would find the last missing pieces of myself. I learned to accept myself and forgive myself and those around me for anything that I was still holding on to. I found the country and the place in which I feel that I belong. Which brings me to happiness. You see, I only became happy when I trusted my light. I listened to my feelings and allowed that to guide me to what I was supposed to be doing. You see, as humans, we all have a life. We all know what makes us happy. We all know what makes us sad. We know when a job's running its course. We know when we're stuck in a relationship that's leaving us fulfilled or draining us day in and day out. But the flip side is, as humans, we also have this beautiful, yet disastrous ability to reason. We find reasons that the risks outweigh the benefits. We find reasons to keep doing that job. We find a reason not to take the chance. See, the key is to know your light. See, you don't need to know exactly what you're meant to be doing, but become familiar with the feelings of contentment. To stand with conviction behind your light and move forward. See, I only became happy when I trusted my light, and it took me a long time to get there. But if you're being honest with yourself, if you're trusting your heart, if you're listening to your light and following that feeling inside your gut, it will always lead you to happiness, no matter what circumstances you come from or are currently dealing with today. Now, this can be a difficult thing for some people to manage because being honest with ourselves means having to accept certain inalienable truths. Truths that can lead to temporary pain and discomfort. But if you're following your light, that alone will guide you to happiness. It's simple. We all have it. It's just a matter of listening to it, trusting it, and moving with it. Simply ask yourself, is this making me happy? Is this making me fulfilled? Am I unhappy? Am I lost? It's just a matter of listening to it, feeling it, and moving with it. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inspire each and every one of you to follow your inner light. Happiness is the only thing waiting for you, and if you do not, a truck might be. Thank you.